Alrighty folks, so here's a quick walk around of my heads, what I've been working on. Plug in some lights here, get some better visuals. So I went over this the other day and unfortunately I deleted all my damn files last night. I don't know. Anyway, so here we are again. Here's the heads that I've been working on. I have cleaned them all up. I'll give you a before and after shot. Well, before shot. They're not too bad. You know, they've got some issues here and there. Like right in this area, you'll see the pitting, the corrosion from just running pure water. I was using a wire wheel and it actually got this kind of nice and smooth. Almost polished it. Almost. Not fully, but almost. Here's all the plethora of devices I was using. This is a nice and small little round wire wheel. And it actually does go down inside there. When you're turning it, it'll actually flop right down inside there and clean all that out really nice. I do have a Dremel tool here, or a roto tool, whatever you want to call it. This roto tool I'm going to use to go back through and kind of polish out the intake and the exhaust. Kind of come in here and clean this up just a little bit, create a little bit better airflow. But I wire wheeled all this down, did my valve lapping in here, so you'll see the valve lap area right here. You see that nice little gray line all the way around. Now I did find 3 bent valves and here they are. Thankfully I had extra heads over there, so I was able to rob a couple valves in here and do some valve lapping with it. I did find this is how I found the one bent valve. So the intake valve, I was doing my lapping, and what happened when I cleaned it off to check it, if you notice, there's only a little spot right here. That's the only part that was actually getting lapped. And I was like, what is going on? So I looked at the valve seat and it was lapped all the way around. I was like, well, why is this? So when I stuck it inside there, that's when I noticed the valve actually was bent. And so what I did was I stuck it in here and I spun it around, and you'll see it go up and down. So alright, doing a quick voiceover here, guys. So what we're looking at here is I'm shining a flashlight through the exhaust port, and you can see the light coming through the valve seat. So that's showing you that it's bent right there. It's not fully closing all the way. And then here in the next shot, you'll see the actual intake valve. And by shining a light in, you can see that one is gapped open as well. So in the previous shot where you saw me spinning it around, it was a gap just going around in the circle. So here's a quick shot for you. These heads are off of the motor that we got from the junkyard that detonated a couple pistons. So I'm assuming that when that happened, the pistons smacked the valves. So that's no bueno. And then the other one I found here, you'll see it's not as bad, but you'll see here that it didn't quite lap, and you see it gets really wide and it goes thin again. So this one was bent as well. So that wasn't no good. Here's another one I used. Of course, it didn't have all the fuzz all over it. But anyways, hook up to the drill. Works great for getting down inside here, all these little areas, and it's not super stiff wire either. So what I did was I used this. It's actually like got a heavy coarse thread on it. So I threaded that into this hose, and this fits over top of the valve. Hooked it up to my drill, and then I was able to use that to do the lapping, which actually worked out really nice. I took my time with it. I didn't try and spin it too fast, but I would spin it, you know, a couple times I'd spin it kind of quick. And so you stick your valve in here, and then on the back side, once you put your lapping compound, put this on there, and then keep just a little bit of back pressure as you're spinning your drill. And I would rotate the directions back and forth. So that's how I was doing the other ones. I did the first ones by hand with the lapping tool, but then I was getting tired of doing that, so I went ahead and cheated. I also built this the other day since we had all that rain. I went ahead and built myself a little bit sturdier valve tool. I don't know what the hell you want to call this. A box for the valves to sit in. So it's pretty simple. And this here in the back is for the push rods. So the push rods sit. I need to drill 2 more holes. I didn't think about that, so I need to put 2 more holes and probably divide that. So I had 1 and 2. So 1 and 2. So head number 1 off cylinder number 1, cylinder number 2 head, and then keep it in order. You can do front to back, so you keep them in order. And of course your push rod, same thing. You can do 1 and 2, and then just put a line right down here. That way you can keep them in order. But I was using cardboard boxes, and that was getting to be a pain in the ass because, you know, I spray WD-40 on them, keep them from rusting up, and of course it kind of helps break down some of the stuff. So cardboard just starts to fall apart after a while. Yeah, that's an old bearing. So anywho, so that's what I've got going on. Here's the other head. I still got to do a little bit more cleaning. If you're not sure what lapping compound looks like, here you go. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. And what you'll feel is when you're doing your lapping, if you've never done it before, you'll feel the grittiness, kind of like Fast Orange hand cleaner. You'll feel that pumice in there. It's kind of the same thing, except it's a fine grit. This is 600 grit, so it's not super aggressive. So you won't really overdo it. You won't overdo your seats and your valves. Here's my block. That cleaned up nice. It's soaked in WD-40 right now so it doesn't rust. I just sprayed WD-40 all over it to keep the moisture off. The bearings are shot, the cam bearings. I don't know how well. Let me see if I can get a flashlight. Where is my flashlight? I know I got a flashlight in here. You know what? Jesus. Oh, here it is. Alright, so for those out there that might be wondering about bearings, yeah, you can see the copper coating. Hopefully that picks up on the camera. Yeah, right there. So you see that coloration change right there in the center. So those bearings are no good, so I'm gonna have to replace those, which I'll probably do myself. They're not complicated. All you have to do is make sure you get your oil holes lined up. There's only 2. It's just a matter of lining those up. Get those lined up, tap them in there. Just take note on, you know, how far in they go. Of course, it doesn't help that you can't see. So yeah, it's bad. So before I put a cam back in this, yeah, that one definitely is wearing out. This motor did have 200 something thousand miles on it. So, and I'll probably clean this up way better again if I don't pay for it to get hot tanked. So there's the other block I tore down the other day. Anywho, so what I'm getting ready to do is I'm going to work on my engine bay on this thing, get this thing going. I want to paint it today. I'm going to do the dark gray, son of a gunmetal gray. I'll probably drop out my cross member so that's out of the way. Go in there and paint it, get the transmission out of the way, get this all done, get it painted up. And my son, we started on this. We replaced this yesterday. All this was rusted, so we replaced that with some sheet metal, some decent sized sheet metal. Of course it's rusted to hell up in here, but it's whatever. It looks worse than what it really is, honestly. With this being replaced, this definitely helps out a lot. It's back to solidness. Cross members in. So, alright, well, I'm going to be working on some more stuff, so probably do some time lapse. Oh, a little too close to the face there. Do some time lapse, stuff like that. Alright guys, stay tuned for more. Alright, so coming at you with some more voiceovers. So you'll notice here in a second I start to sand on the brake booster again. I had some kind of reaction when I shot the paint the first time, so I went ahead and let it dry in the sun. So I'm just doing a little bit of alcohol and the Scotch-Brite. So that actually solved my problem. Whatever reaction I had on there, I think was from that rust killer that I had put on there. There's a certain brand of rust killer, I can't remember, I think it's by Rust-Oleum, but it actually says you can use it for prepping surfaces for paint, and I've used that before. Well, actually my son's used it and everything else, but the stuff I had used just a little bit ago was actually already used, so it might have had something in there that caused a little bit of reaction when I sprayed it. But going back over some alcohol, rubbing alcohol and a Scotch-Brite, that worked fine. And here you see me crawling in and out of the engine bay. I'm in there with a wire wheel, and then I finally just decided to go ahead and start sanding on it by hand. I'm taking out all the little nuts, getting those out of my way so I can shoot it, you know, when I'm sanding it and everything. When I go to paint it, it's not going to be in my way. Alright, so here I'm using some purple power, and I'm going back over it again with a Scotch-Brite. I hit most of that firewall or engine bay area with some 80 grit sandpaper, and then decided to go ahead and hit it with a Scotch-Brite as well when I'm cleaning and scrubbing it down. I was using, Duplicolor's paint thinner, I think it was. I don't know, that stuff just didn't seem to work all that well, so I was like, screw it. Got the purple power out, started scrubbing it down, scrubbed everywhere really good. That works really good. You know me, I love my purple power. Scrubbing that down, getting all that grease and crap out of there. Alright, so after I'm done cleaning everything, I'm going over it with the air hose, just blowing off all the water, wiping it down with some shop towels, just getting all the excess of water, any drips, anywhere that might have potential for dripping when I was going to shoot my primer. That's pretty self-explanatory there. So masking up the windshield, even though I plan on replacing this windshield, I figure it's just good practice. Go ahead and put a little bit of masking up on there. Keep a little bit of the overspray down maybe. I don't know. I really want to get this windshield replaced, but at the same time I don't really have the money for it, and if I can salvage it for a little while, might as well save myself a little bit of money. You know, this is a project build, but we'll see. I really want to get that front windshield replaced. It's got a crack in it, and it looks like crap. But just putting tape down, I went on the inside and taped up the holes on the firewall, like where the brake booster goes in, where the power block goes through, and I think there was another hole on the left hand side where I plan on putting my my ECU wires through the firewall, which I'm gonna have to go back and cut, but cut the opening a little bit bigger so the connectors fit through. Alright guys, so today is the next day after I shot the primer. I went ahead and shot some of my 2K primer on here. I'm going to scuff it up, probably shoot a little bit more because I do want to get this side here. So I forgot I didn't get this outside. I need to shoot some primer on this outside as well. But I got the inside done. Man, does it look way better. Just even with the primer, it looks a lot nicer. And I also need to come in here and kind of shoot some down inside that way. I was standing inside the engine bay when I was shooting this primer, so now I got to go back through and get like that spot. There's a light spot there. There's some other little spots. I'm gonna mix up some more, shoot it, and then mix up my gray and shoot the gray. All right, I'm gonna try and hopefully get another shot of the some more camera angle while I'm painting, but we'll see what happens. All right, guys, time lapse coming up here in a second. . 。 Alrighty guys, so I'm getting ready to throw down some paint. My first of many coats. I'm doing a voiceover on this section because I've got some Metallica playing in the background and I don't want that to get flagged for whatever reason. Anyway, so as you notice, the paint stream coming out looks pretty straight. It's like a thin little stream of paint. So I do that because with these paint guns, you know, if you've never painted before with a paint gun, you can adjust the pattern, and getting in those tight little spots, it's nice because it shoots just a steady little stream, concentrated stream straight out. See how it looks just straight out, and I constantly play with that as I'm painting. You know, as areas change, you need to get a little tighter grouping on your spray paint versus having a wide fan, especially up in there along the window. It's such a narrow little spot, rather than trying to shoot a wide overlapping fan. Just shoot a nice little tight group and get it up in that little spot right there. Works perfect. And what I like about this gun, it's a cheap gun. I bought a set. There's 3 of them together. I bought them off Amazon, I think, for like $90. It's an HVLP. I do plan on someday investing in nicer guns, but as of now, they do their job. My blue one is the primer gun. This red one is my my base paint gun, and then I have a smaller, like, little touch-up gun. But it works. I mean, it works really well for, I mean, shit, $90. I've painted quite a bit with it, and I like that the adjustment is right there next to my thumb, so I don't have to do what I just did there. I can typically move it with my thumb. I can just wheel it up and down with my thumb, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I guess it just depends on how much adjustment I want to do. There, I'm adjusting my actual paint flow, how much paint I want coming out. And it's a bit of a pain in the butt to shoot this engine bay, because you don't want to be touching nothing and you have, you know, tight quarters while you're shooting. But I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. Alright, so now I'm painting up underneath the lip here. And one thing I was telling my son was to keep an eye on the little edges, because it seems like those little thin little edges are the ones that get missed the most. So I really made sure I wanted to get some of that. So you'll see here I'm actually spraying a little bit wider pattern. I didn't go super wide since it's a small area and I don't have a whole lot of room to go back and forth really, because there's so many little nooks and crannies in this engine bay. I definitely use that more concentrated area, or the concentrated spray, a lot more because of how tight those little areas, especially right up underneath that lip. Like, it just works way better than trying to fan it up under there, especially up in that crease. And I'm explaining to my son, you notice the pattern, and telling him about that as well. Okay, so you notice I jumped ahead, so I'm trying to not make this video too boringly long. Just doing some last minute touch-ups when I'm trying to find any spots that I may have missed. Actually, I think I'm laying down clear here. Actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm laying down, this was my first little bit of clear. So, issue I started to have towards the end of all this was moisture. My son had ran over there a couple times and opened up the valve on the bottom of the air compressor. Since we just got all that rain a few days ago, it's fairly humid. I mean, humidity was fine as far as painting goes, but the air compressor was just running so much, it was sucking up so much moisture. And I do have a dryer, inline dryer. It's only a single stage dryer. I need to get a better one. I do have an extra coil of hose, like I think it's an extra like 50 foot of hose coiled up. That's supposed to help catch moisture as well. And then on the gun itself, I have another moisture collector, but it was just too much. I was shooting clear, and I started noticing some weird spots going on in my clear. And I looked at my gun, and I could see water actually coming out of the nozzle a little bit, around the nozzle. So, and then of course my stupid air chuck is leaking. I need to get some new ones. I know I told my son at one point, I said, go grab me a paper towel so I could wrap it around the chuck to kind of keep the moisture, because you know, like a little splatter here and there would start to sprinkle and mist all over the clear coat. But thankfully it wasn't, you know, it wasn't too terribly bad. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. There's a few little spots here and there I've seen, but it's an engine bay. You know, I'm not really trying to be 100% perfect with it. Just try to get it looking pretty damn good, and I think it will be. I think it'll be fine. And honestly, you know, painting outdoors, a lot of people freak out. Oh my God, you're painting outdoors. See, I'm wiping off moisture right there. But honestly, I mean, there's no dirt flying around. There's no, you know, I didn't have a whole lot of bugs since it just rained, and it especially helps out since it just rained because it, you know, the dirt's still kind of stuck to the ground, and with this temperature, this clear coat sets pretty quick. In the clear coat, of course, you mix 4-to-1. I add like a little cap of reducer just to make it flow a little bit nicer. You know, it'll flow. The only thing about doing it that way is it'll tend to run easier because it's a thinner consistency. But thankfully I didn't get any runs, and the second round of clear that I was shooting actually laid down nice and thick. I didn't put any reducer in that one. I just left it at the 4-to-1 ratio. Alright guys, we'll jump ahead to the end here where I do a quick little last shot of the whole thing, and we'll wrap this video up. Alrighty guys, so the next video I will show the clear coat the next day after that, but at the end of this, here's the still shots of the finished product. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, comment, ask me any questions you want. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.